This is Matt on another episode of Lantern in the Seaport today at Flexcar with COO Ryan Quinlan, here to talk about what this company is, what they're building, and a whole lot more related to this exciting new method of car ownership. So Ryan, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
First and foremost, what is Flexcar? What are you all building here?
Great question. So for a lot of people, car buying has become a very bad experience. It's broken for some. For others, it's just this grind where they either have to lease a car that they can't afford. They're now having to pay more for insurance than they've ever had before. And when they go to get the car serviced, they're shockingly dismayed that they have to pay this much for an oil change or this much for their tires, or heaven forbid it's something worse than that.
I can attest to this.
Flexcar solves all of these problems and gives access to even greater things than just simply buying one car. So we provide the insurance with the base price. Maintenance is included. So when you get your oil change, your tires rotated, your car tires changed, all of that's included with Flexcar. And then on top of that, you get access not just to a car, you get access to a fleet of cars. So if you want a Jeep in the summer, a Ford Explorer in the winter, all of those things, you can trade, swap those cars out. All of it's the same. You just pay for the car you're in. And so it gives you this chance to live large, but while still spending small. So people have just started to really adopt this model and say, I don't want to go with a traditional model. I want something that's just different. And this offers them flexibility. You don't have to worry about hassle, and you can do it all for a low cost.
Amazing. And obviously, this team has grown a lot in the past couple of years. As you look back on 2024 and now as we roar into 2025, what are some of those highlights, looking back, and then even milestones that you're looking to achieve this year?
We've grown a lot. Our members now have driven over 150 million miles.
Wow.
So that's exciting. That's across all 4 of our cities that we're in right now. The team's expanding. We're adding different players, different technical abilities. So that's all exciting. And what's happened is because of the demand, because people are seeing it, wanting it more and more, there's more requirement for our car and our fleet expansion. So we're getting into EVs now. We have luxury cars, more SUVs, greater variety in our sedans. And before we were a little more limited. So now we're able to expand into a lot more fleet selection. So somebody who says, I love this model, but I really want a Lexus or a BMW, that now is an option for them, whereas before it wasn't.
That's awesome. And will we be seeing more cities this year that Flexcar is expanding into?
Hopefully, to be determined. There are a lot of things that we want to continue to grow in Boston specifically. We want to make sure that we get some of the kinks worked out that are common with a startup like ours, and just make sure that we've got everything ironed out, and then we'll expand rapidly. So sometime this year or soon thereafter is where we're planning to expand.
Amazing. And as you think about your career, at Google and GoPuff and some other, leading names in the sort of fleet, logistics, and movement space, what are some of those learnings you would pass back to up-and-coming operators, founders, anyone else building in the real world and tech-enabled ecosystem?
Yeah, as a startup, it's always tough to not get ahead of yourself. Every startup person that I talk to says something like, you got to learn to be scrappy. It sounds like a buzzword until you're in a startup. And then once you start working in a startup, you realize you always have to be doing more with less. And the temptation to build something like a big company, like a Google that you used to be at, is so great that you say, I want to pull this system or this method in, and not doing that is really important. Because if you can do it with an Excel sheet versus buying a $20,000 software company, not to disparage any of those great companies that offer for those programs, but if you can do it with less, that is sort of one of the core elements of a successful startup, is just being able to maximize the people and the tools that you have to stretch as long as you can.
Absolutely. And last but not least, how can we help? How can we help Flexcar grow in Boston and soon beyond?
Yeah, the thing that we want more than anything is just to be considered in people's consideration cycle when they're going to buy a car, lease a car. So if you're going to buy a car, definitely check us out. If your friend is leasing or buying a car, definitely tell them you should think about this. And we want feedback on that. When people, especially this market here in Boston, they give us great feedback on how we can change the product and what things that would tip the scales for them between leasing or buying and Flexcar. And as we learn that and get the feedback from the customers, it helps us enhance our program and our product.
Ryan from Flexcar, Matt from MGM2 Boston on this episode of Lantern. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.